3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Zenia Wood.
Hello.
Hey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Thank you for coming in. I'm excited to have you on. We're both private practicing EPs, so this is super exciting.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with you telling our community a bit about yourself, who you are, and if they've been living under a rock and haven't been on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube.
Who I am, what I do. Okay. So exercise physiologist as well. I own a company called Swift Movement Academy, and I sort of came about that to build a community as opposed to just being like Zenia's clients or something like that. So I guess the three pillars that I like to run my business off of is educate, rehabilitate, and empower. So everything that I do is really simple because it has to fall under one of those three banners. And what else? I work in a gym, like most ex-phys, and predominantly musculoskeletal based. Yeah.
Sweet. I've noticed over the years your dedication to like the education is just gotten better and better and bigger to a point where you've got a coaches thing that you're
academy?
running as well. Yeah,
Yep.
The Coaches Academy, which I'm a part of, and thank you for having me in there.
That's all right.
A lot of the times I just stay in the background, have my popcorn, and read the comments and absorb all the learning that's going on. And I know over the years, even your education clips and your tutorials that you create for your clients are just so freaking powerful. As an EP, I benefit and enjoy reading it, so I can't imagine how much value. I mean, I can imagine it's a lot of fucking value that your clients and patients would be getting out of that as well.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, like, that's the whole, I guess, purpose behind what we both do what we do, right?
Yep.
Is to be able to educate people first and foremost. Like, I sort of sat down semi-recently and worked on, I guess, a bit of a vision statement for Swift, which is we empower individuals through movement education to manage their own injuries.
Okay.
So I think, like the biggest and first step needs to be education, so people understand what's going on, why they're injured, how they've gotten to this point, and then really empowering people, because I think there are so many times when you'd probably see this, like other health professionals have said to our current clients, or don't do this, or that movement's bad, or deadlifts are bad for your back, or all these sort of like very jarring, negative feedback about exercise, when it's not the exercise that should be demonized. It's more just teaching and educating them how they should move for their body.
Yeah.
I don't know what your experience is with that.
Super frustrating, man. Yeah. I hear you. Same as you. I think it used to be even worse when I first started my career as an EP. I felt like I was hitting that roadblock like most days at some point. Like it felt a couple of times a week I would hear a client come in and say, oh, this physio said, I shouldn't bag out physios, other health professionals as well.
Anyone.
This GP said this physio said this, my chiro said never do deadlifts again. Again, not bagging out chiros. My friend said, why am I doing deadlifts in the gym? What is wrong with you? So it was coming from all over. Whereas
I think it's hard too. I was saying this to one of the students that's working doing placement with me at the moment, and I was saying to them in terms of other health professionals saying these things, and it's really hard from our perspective when you have someone who, is a sports doctor or someone who has a lot of credibility, and they're saying these, to them, what may seem like throwaway statements that literally like change people's perceptions of and scare people to not do exercise and to not benefit from all the other things that they can with exercise. And I always sort of come back to, like, are you going to get like a jeweler to go and like fix the plumbing in your house?
Yeah.
Like, don't take advice from people who aren't in that and haven't been living and breathing it. Like, even if you are a GP, like if they haven't ever deadlifted before, then why are you listening to them if they're the people saying don't deadlift? Like, if they've never picked up anything heavier than like a 5 kilo carton of milk.
That's true. So true.
I think it's relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super frustrating. I've again, not bagging out any particular profession, but there's some health professionals out there that don't live in, I guess they're not exercise physiologists, and in some cases they have done some sports science or some exercise units. When I like to probe and like dig, I'm like, what do you do for exercise? I'm like, oh, da da da. I'm like, or they mention like their activities of daily living or their occupational shit. I'm like, that's not exercise. Like, that's good activity that you're doing, bro.
My dad's like, I go for a walk every day. I'm like, Dad, like a 4-minute walk around the block is not exercise. That's just incidental, like daily activity.
Yeah.
Like, I love that you're trying, but let's just like this. We're not going to call it exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm fully with you. Like, I think those roadblocks, I'm getting less of them now than what I did
Agreed.
earlier on in my career.
Yeah.
But there is still far too many of them happening. And I like what you said. It's dangerous for our patients and our clients to be hearing this shit, because it has a lot of negative
and lasting impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has negative and lasting impact. And then it makes our job harder and the patient's recovery or their journey harder, because we then have to re-educate, retrain.
And then do they trust us, or do they trust a doctor? It's like, but this person's on paper more qualified, but whose information do you trust or listen to? And we're fighting an uphill battle, but like you said, I think it's slowly that knee-jerk reaction of don't deadlift is slowly fading, I would hope. I think it's hard too when you and I work in our own sort of environments that's separate to like a big chain gym like a Good Life or a Fitness First or whatever. Like, we don't see that, and you walk into one of those, I don't know if you've done this like ever, like recently you walk in, you're like, oh my God, like cover your eyes, and you're like, I can't look at anything, everyone's just like, you need to like go over and help everyone to make sure that they're like moving well. In the past, I used to like walk up to everybody when I was in a commercial gym, and then I quickly learned like the people get pissed off and they're like, "Wait, go away!" Like, don't. It's hard.
I've always done it this way. I don't want to chat to you about this. Da da da. So
I think it's hard. Like, I did the same thing. Like, I very early in my career started in a Good Life, and everyone just sort of came to know that I was the chick who was going to like pull you up on your technique, but had good intentions behind it. So I think it worked in my favor in the end. But it is hard, and especially if you, I think tact is something that's very important. Like, I know that when I was sort of younger in my career, the way I'd go about things and the way I'd be like, oh, maybe don't do that, or like, this is better, was a little bit like brash. But I think I've sort of learnt now how to approach it in a way that 90% of people are receptive to. Like, you're always going to have 10% who are like, nah, I'm doing my own thing, fuck off. And that's cool. Like, they can learn the hard way or just stay doing the status quo. But I think, as frustrating and hard as it is, like, we're in this industry for a reason. And I think we have to be the ones who are like pushing that and putting ourselves and our profession out there, because people still have no idea what we do or what an ex-phys even is. So, I mean, we have to be our biggest advocates, and, I appreciate all the work that you're doing for that as well. So it's a long process, but we'll get there.
We're chipping away, right? It's getting a bit better. I think there is some sports doctors that I work with. There is some GPs that I work with. There's some physios that I work with that are on our wavelength, and they are helping us in this journey of educating our patients and our clients properly and going, like that lower back pain that you're experiencing, it's not as scary as you first might think, or it's not as scary as the MRI suggests, or it's not what you've heard from your mates and like, you've got disc degen and now you're doomed for the rest of your life. Like, it is okay for you to move, and it's actually I'm encouraging you to move, and it's better for you to move than bed rest, and go move properly and go learn, invest the time, invest the energy to learn how to do it properly, and then build your way up to a deadlift. Start with a hip hinge, blah blah blah. To get yourself squatting, da da da. We're talking about deadlifts, but I've heard these nasty comments about squats. I've had clients and patients come back, and a health professional's told them, "Oh no, don't squat. Like that's gonna
never sit down onto the toilet. Like don't sit into a car. Like just always like."
Yeah, oh no,
makes no sense.
Yeah, don't be doing squats in the gym. Like that's gonna hurt your knees. That's gonna hurt your back, right? I'm like, you're already doing squats every day. Like it's happening. I've heard it for so much. Like whatever. Like you've got a bad shoulder, don't bicep. I'm like, this shit is getting out of whack.
Yeah. But I mean, I think some people do that out of fear tactics. Like because our industry is, I think our model in the industry is broken in terms of like all health practitioners. It's like you get 5 sessions from a Medicare plan, or you get, private health rebates for 12 sessions or whatever. And it's like this person needs more than 12 sessions to actually get from like potentially debilitating pain through to like you are now like crushing it.
Yeah.
And I think that the industry having that like 3 sessions kind of thing, or like physio is like one and done, and it's like no one is stronger in an hour. Like you might have like done a little bit of weights, but like it's gonna take months and years to really get where you need to go. And I think that the more we start to empower our clients and talk to them in ways that is going to help to build that. But I see it with students as well. And I used to do it as well. Like you kind of catch myself now, and I almost don't do it anymore. Yeah. But it used to be like, oh, don't do this. Or we're not going to do this because that's bad for your back, or your shoulder will, be in pain if we do this exercise. And even as an ex-phys, like I don't know if you've done that in the past, but like I think when I first started out, I was like, that exercise is bad for your shoulder, but this one's great. Yeah. And you like create your own sort of bias or, insecurities about certain exercises being bad. But I think that, like at the end of the day, like the wording is really important. Yeah. Like I find now that I'll be like, you know what, for you right now, I think that this is going to be a better option. Yeah. Or that might place a little bit more load on your spine. Not that load in your spine is bad, but right now you've got all the load there and we need to put some of the load somewhere else. So I think like changing that has been a massive, somewhat recent shift for me with clients and how we talk to them. That's powerful. Do you find it's helping you get through better? Like in terms of taking their guard down, retraining the movement patterns? You getting better results with it? I think, I mean, like, so when I first started, I was seeing a lot of people, like a lot of people were coming through, but they were also falling out the other side. Like I didn't have great retention with clients because I could wow them and, say all these fancy things, but, things like retention or, getting them confidently to be like, okay, well, now that you're out of pain, that's not the end of this journey. And previously it was like pain was the goal. Yeah. Or like pain-free was the goal. Pain-free, you're fixed. You're done. And then they say, see you later. And it's like, but how do I go from, like, same with the physio or whoever you see, like, they're like, cool, you're out of pain, see you later. Yeah. And it's like, but I didn't want to just be pain-free. I wanted to overhead snatch without pain. Yeah. Like, and that's that gap that I think we have to be filling in a much broader, bigger capacity. I think a lot of ex-phys spend their time in the shadows of physios and basically do the acute injury rehab of what a physio can and should be doing with, your TheraBands or your muscle activation. But then, like, how do you then get them through to, like, actual performance? Yeah. And, like, that gap. It's, there's a lot more to it. It's a lot more to it than just the basic TheraBand. Let's start you up with this basic drill. You said something that resonated with me really well about the like one and you're done or like 3 sessions. There's a bit of lingo damage happening there as well with some clients and patients that come in with unrealistic expectations of, I have these 2 sessions, I'm here for a program. And I'm thinking maybe we'll just use 1 and then like this other one I could change it to a podiatrist or something. Or I'm like, I can't do anything in
I
one
could have
session.
the world's best exercise program for you here and like hand it to you, but like it's not the way it works. It's not. You won't get long-term proper results if I just put together a quick program for you in 20 minutes, hand it to you, and then you're done. And then we go into education mode and talk to them about progression or overload or the benefits of reprogramming.
Yeah, I think it comes from both sides. Like because we're in this mindset of like get people out of pain. I think a lot of ex-phys, especially when you're fresh and you're green, that sort of they're in this very like specific injury rehab box, and being able to broaden that and being like, hey, that's the start of our journey. You know, like you said, like I don't even work with someone if they just want one session with me. Like there's no point. Like you're wasting your time.
What do you do? Just out of curiosity, do you go?
I just don't even.
Do you try and like educate, or do you just go, no, I'm not?
I've genuinely, I don't remember the last time I got a referral that was for one session.
Yeah.
Like, but I think it's because I've worked really hard over the years to be quite vocal on some of these opinions that I have that I really believe in terms of getting people results. Like, I think I posted something the other day. It was like something like if you go to the gym once and don't lose weight, you don't give up. If you go to the physio once and don't get better, same.
Yeah.
Like people just go like, one session,
Boom,
but it's like, but that's not how it works, and it doesn't make sense. And I think, we just need to educate.
It's one exercise session.
I
don't get it as much as I used to, but I had one last week, and this is why. I was like, oh gosh, and this guy had all of those walls up of, I'm here for this one free session. Well, this is what we're doing. You're going to give me a program, and then I'm going to go manage my type 2 diabetes. I'm like, okay, cool. So what exercise are you doing right now? None. What exercise have you done in the last 3 to 6 months? None. What's your exercise history like? Have you successfully ever done anything with movement? Nah, like I've always hated exercise, never exercised. So, and then I was like, okay, like we've got a lot of work to do here. Like I got to manage it.
What do you do with that? Because it's hard.
Yeah. Early days EP, I struggled with it a lot. Because I always tried to do my best for what the patient wants. So I was like, okay, well, if you want a program, I'll do you up a program. And you only want to be here once, that's fine. Whereas now I think I'm like you, I'm getting a bit more vocal with educating the patient and then going, okay, like let's start again. Like these freebie one-off things they're
a kickstart.
That someone's mentioned, like they're not. Yeah, we could do that, or we could like come like.
Or we could actually get you some results.
We could get like, proper results. It depends. It depends what you want, right? And then when
if you want to waste your time for an hour, I can do that.
Yeah. And then when I have that chat with the patient or the client, and 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, no. Like, I'm serious about managing type 2 diabetes. This is just what I thought would happen, or this is what I was told, or this is what I heard.
Again, industry is where we need to start. And obviously, like, your GP's going, you get, like, 5 sessions with an ex-phys. Like, go do your 5 sessions. And so they're like, that's what I get. But I think, like, I always call my clients before, like, if they've booked in with me for an initial, I always have a phone call conversation. So I'm already talking to them about that entire process before I've even seen them. Like, it's not worth anyone's time for them to come in for an hour for us to have a mini chat and then disagree on the process. And some people just aren't at that stage and they're not ready for it, and that's okay. And they can go see some ex-phys who wants to do one session and not get them results. But I don't know, I think, we're not those types of ex-phys, and we're here for the long haul. And like, if we're still fucking around in the industry, like that's the thing, like people drop out so often, and the fact that we've been here 6-10 years, you've got to start to forecast people's results. And you would know, like, the clients who've been with you for 2-3 years are way better off than the people who saw you for 3 sessions. Like, I kind of look at it and feel like I've done them and myself a disservice if I've said, we'll just do your 3 sessions, and you've given into them, but it's your service and it's your business and you're the one who should be dictating the T's and C's.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you start out.
Yeah, I think this is a powerful lesson for all the new grads out there and EPs that are in early days of their career. I think, that is a powerful lesson that Zenia shared of getting on the phone, talking to them, and starting that process. I know every time I've done that, it just crushes the ice. And when they come in, I already feel like I know them, they know me. We've already briefly talked about their goals and what they're trying to achieve. You're right. It helps me forecast like what they've done, what musculoskeletal things they're dealing with, in addition to this chronic disease that they've just been diagnosed with, in addition to like these unrealistic expectations that they might have. And then we go from there. Yeah. That is powerful to invest the time to get to know your client before they come in.
Yeah. But I mean, like in the same token, like, yes, they're paying us, but we want to have to spend time. We have to want to spend time with them too. Like we're investing our time into these people, and you know, you have to like your clients and want to come to work and not be like, oh, I've got Jill again. Like, like then Jill's not going to feel great about it. Neither are you.
Shout out to Jill. The only reason we're mentioning Jill is because we just said good morning to Jill downstairs.
Oh, really?
Jill.
That was subconscious. I didn't even.
That was Jill that walked out of the gym before. I love working with Jill, and Jill is doing amazing things. She's
probably going to listen to this.
Jill will listen to this for sure. Shout out Jill. Jill's a great example of everything that we believe in, and everything that you and I are chatting about. So, yeah. That was just
she'll love that.
That was a nice chat about industry. Anything else that we should touch on?
I think we were talking about students a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
In terms of like expectations on prac and for like new grad ex-phys, but I guess or people who are fourth year ex-phys, or you know, people who are newly out, or probably applies to any real health profession. In terms of like expectations and really having them seize the opportunity. I see such a contrast in some students who will really, you know, really want to be there and really want to soak up every single experience and ask for added opportunities and will go out of their way to help and support. And just like the idea of a student is to help make our lives easier and to bring people into this industry who are industry ready and worthy.
Yeah.
What have your experiences been with students?
Much like you, and much like our chat off camera, they've been a bit hit and miss. I've had some students that come through, and I deem them to be like. Do you work with fourth year students or third year or both?
Fourth year only.
Yeah, me too.
I won't touch them if they haven't been in a gym before.
Yeah.
I just think that there are better places they can go and learn the initial phases.
Yeah.
And I think they need to have a little bit more of a grasp before they get thrown in the deep end with the EP stuff.
Yeah. I agree. The third year is a completely different world. Like it's they come in so green. I'm like, whoa, like what's going on? Have you done healthy pops? And then now, probably for the last 5 or 6 years, I've just been doing fourth year only.
Yeah.
In the past, I just used to. I like giving back to the EP community, and I like being involved with QT, UQ. We've done a little bit of work with ACU. I like that concept, because when we went through, we had our prac supervisors that we got a lot of benefit from, and others that didn't really invest time in us, and were like, nah. Yeah. This is because I think both of us were the EP student that was looking to soak up as much as possible out of prac, learn, and like
I did like 800 hours of prac. Like we have to do like 400 or 500, and I was like, all of the extras, please. Yeah. And like I went to prac for like 12 weeks at this place, and was like, yes, everything you can. So, yeah, I mean. Like it's very obvious early on who is in this to really learn and who is there to tick a box. Yeah. So I guess that's a little bit of a bit of advice for people who are coming in. Like like don't expect or believe that you have the right to be training clients. That's a privilege. And I think some people are like, oh, yeah, I just get to take all the clients and do all the things. And I'm like, whoa, this is my privately paid client. I have to trust you to be able to know what you're doing so that you're going to be able to deliver a standard that I'm happy with and the client's happy with. And sometimes, like you said, hit and miss. Yeah. And I think prac's the best place to learn that. Like you learn, it's kind of like when you are learning to drive a car, and you only really learn when, you know, you get your P's and you're out on the road by yourself, that you can get that experience. But yeah, taking on as much as you can and soaking it all in it's good advice. Very important.
Soak it in, be ready. The amount of prac students that I've had in the past that come in and they report to be sleep deprived, or like they've stayed up, like, I don't know, playing video games the night before, and then we're in at the gym at like 5:30. We're ready to roll. I'm like, man, are you ready? Like, are you ready to do this? Like, oh, I don't know. I've had like 3-4 hours sleep. I'm like, come on, like, let's do this. Like, let's commit to this. You'll get a lot more out of it. I've had supervisors in the past that have like half committed to my learning experience, and it's you get lessons out of it, you learn, and then I've had others that are all in, like you and I, and want to help the student and want to give them a full access.
But the other thing is too, they have to earn that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm willing to invest as much time into you as you are into me. It's just like a relationship. Like, you're not going to give them 100% if they're giving you 10.
Yes.
So the more that you can show up and do those little extra 1%ers and ask those questions and be present and actively engage, the better your experience as a student will be, but the easier and the more, you know, your supervisor is going to like be like, heck yeah, this person, like, I will vouch for them, or you might hire them, or you will be a reference for them. So, you know, you're always, like, effectively from prac onwards, you're always sort of being interviewed, because like, if you have someone who you're going to hire and you know that I know them, there's no way you wouldn't call me up and be like, hey Zen, like, what do you think of this person? If I had a shit experience with them, they're done. Like,
it's very true. I think
small industry.
If I was to like think about the flip side of that coin, I think there's some students that come into our prac from just finishing a hospital prac, and it's two completely different worlds.
Absolutely.
So I've learned that we do an interview before they start prac, and in the interview I go, okay, where were you before this? Okay, cardiac rehab, in this hospital. I'm like, okay, completely different world. You're now entering private practice, and then I describe it in buckets for them. I'm like, well, you've got your hospital world, you've got your private practice world, and then you've got like being on the sideline with the Broncos world. And like, we're in the private practice world. And then sometimes you might get some of these guys come in, and sometimes you might get some of these guys come in because outpatients might be finishing their cardiac rehab, and then they're progressing because they've been referred by their GP. Or you might have an elite athlete, you know, you work with lots of athletes as well that's doing rehab and recovering. So you've a bit of a different dynamic, different team vibe. No cookie cutter approach here, no one size fits all approach. There's no protocol that you go to and it's the same shit that you do for every single patient, and you start with this and progress to this. You're entering a high performing EP world, and it's good. I found that beneficial in the past when I hadn't made that as clear. They just come in and they expect that they're just going to do the things that their hospital supervisor was doing, or what he was teaching them, or what they learn at uni. Like the unis are doing some good health clinics where students are running things. Completely different world to having a high-performing EP as their supervisor. Yeah,
I think that's a really good point that you made too, like bucketing them, because like I've had students who have come from like, you know, like a clinic site that was a very... I guess low-level older adult population. They're doing like sit-to-stands and things like that, and I'm like squatting, you know, 120 kilos with my client or whatever, and it's like, whoa, like that's a very big change. And I guess, you know, like we do probably need to make that distinction clear and be like, I guess I'm learning on the fly after the fact. You've done a lot more student placements than I have, but in terms of being like, look, this is what private practice is. The expectation is that, you know, like you're not dawdling to go and get equipment if that's what's required, because your 80-year-old grandma probably needs her 2-minute rest break, and she'll probably get there a minute after you do. But, you know, if I have a mid-30-year-old client who's like ready to go, like if you need a piece of equipment, we only have like 45 minutes with them. Like you need to go and get that piece of equipment, or like you need to be, I guess, a little bit more on. just because the pace is quicker.
Yeah.
The turnaround is quicker. There's not as much time to sort of fluff about. I think, it's generally, generally I do one-on-ones as well. So it's like you need to be on and ready with that client. It's not a group scenario where you can go away and talk to someone else and then come back and then have a little chat. So, it is a high-performing work environment as well.
Yeah. Another two buckets that I've used for them is sometimes when they come in clinical, it's all about like survival mode. The patients that they're working with there might be 85 plus, and again, cardiac rehab or heart failure or whatever it is that they had experience with, and it's all about helping that patient survive. Whereas when you walk into our practice, it's we have those survive patients, but a lot of them are patients that want to thrive, and they want to go from like musculoskeletal average to like being able to optimally thrive and optimally perform, whether it's their professional life or just their training goals or a weekend warrior or whatever it is. This is some amazing lessons for the students. I've got one more that I want to explore with you. When I did a bit of work with Haley from UQ, she helped me understand that it's all about a fourth year student level. So
we probably do have some, some expectations on them that it's hard to figure out where they should be.
It's like, okay, they're not an EP yet, but they're a student. So I think, okay, like if for a fourth year student level, is it good enough or not good enough? And it's like, and the lesson that I did, the learning that I did with Haley, they did these good seminars for prac supervisors, and they had a bunch of us come out, and it was really good. And they're like, this is tools and learning that you guys can do. Anyway, so that was one that I thought I'd share with you, where it's like, okay, get into a mindset of this is a fourth year student. Are they good enough for a fourth year or not? But still sometimes they're not, and they still need to improve, and it's nice to see their progress from like week 1 to week 3 to week 5 to week 6. And sometimes if we can't give them access to our clients, and if we don't trust them to run the session yet in week 1, by the time they get to week 3, maybe they will be there, and it's pretty powerful for them.
To see those steps and those markers.
What's your thoughts on EPs in the industry of like everyone being in gyms, or you and I have mostly worked in gyms. I did a little bit of work in medical centers. You did a bit of commercial gym.
Yeah, I actually started in a clinic.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a room that was probably like as big as this, just from there. So that was my there was one squat rack, and I was doing some deadlifts with some clients, and we're on the second floor, and that was not a go.
Because of the noise? Yeah.
But that's where I started, in a clinic. There was one of every health practitioner sort of in the facility, and it was very interdisciplinary. But mostly in gyms. And I think it's hard because clinic and sometimes EP can get put into that very sterile environment.
Super clinical, very rehab.
Yeah, and people sort of when Jess, my first practitioner who I've now employed, when she came through, she was like, "Oh, you swear in front of your clients?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, this is the real world. I'm not gonna be Zenia, the EP, and then be me outside of that. It's one and the same. It's integrated." And I used to sort of be like, "Oh, do you add your clients on Facebook?" It's hard to know where the professional boundaries are. But I think now it's become so integrated that I will hang out with my clients on the weekends. They are genuinely people that I want to see and spend time with. And I think that does nothing but strengthen my brand and what I do. And like I said, we have to want to spend time with them too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the better relationships you can build, and the more you know about their personal lives, the better you can help them.
Yeah.
If you don't know that they're going through a divorce, or one of their kids has just broke their arm and they had to stay up at the hospital last night, shit like that. If it's very clinical and all you talk about is the exercise, then you're not going to be able to be like, all right, well, we need to take it back because your recovery is going to be shit this week. Or, maybe we're going to change something because you're, going through a lot of stress at the moment, or it's okay that you're not pushing to 10 out of 10 today.
That's a really good
I don't know
thought.
where we're going with that.
You've touched on two good things, I reckon. Well, all of it's good things. In our community, we get, because we're in Newstead, we get a lot of, it's so close to the valley, all the bars, all the clubs around here.
Yeah.
A lot of our community, not a lot of our community, some of our community will go out and party all weekend, and then they're coming in on Monday. And I'm thinking the same. I'm like, okay, we've got these targets to hit. This is where I've planned your programming to be with your squats or your deadlifts. And then if I didn't have that rapport with them, they wouldn't tell me that they just had 6 tequila shots the night before and like half a dozen cocktails. But because I do have that rapport and I invest that time
as a person.
They feel comfortable telling me that they were out and they, they're sleep deprived or whatever. They've had more alcohol than what they normally do, and that helps me with their programming because I'm like, okay, well, we can't get after it and attack that PB the way we were going to. Let's bring it back, or like let's consolidate, and then like, maybe next weekend less drinking, and like we'll get after it on the Monday. That was one good thing that I thought I'd mention. The other one is, I think it's powerful how you can be yourself as a coach, and like be yourself as like a not a coach on the weekends or before or after work. And what I've observed over the years is a lot of EPs, I think that's the reason. Off camera, we were chatting about EPs that, like, maybe it was on camera, I lose track, about EPs that just disappear. And they don't, they're an EP for 2 or 3 years, and then they
leave the industry and they go and do something like physio or plumbing.
Or like sometimes it's a completely different change. It's like completely out of health, completely out of coaching. Like they're now a sales rep, or they're this or that. I think because I think maybe we've trained ourselves through being in a high performing environment to be ourselves. I think it conserves our energy and allows us to do a better job. The EPs that are gone into like that super sterile mode and then stepping out, I find that they're the ones that I've observed experience more burnout, and it's harder for them to.
Well, it's almost like putting on a persona, and like I had to say this and like knock it out of Jess day one, because I was like, all right, you're going to run me through an initial assessment, and so she did that, and she was like talking to me, and then the initial started. She's like, "Hi, my name is Jess. I will be your exercise physiologist." I was like, the fuck is that? Like, just have a conversation with me.
Right.
And like, she almost like, I felt like she put on her like exercise physiology coat, and I was like, nah, none of that in here. Like, it's, we have to be real with our clients, and if you put on a persona, then it is exhausting. But if you are just you, and then you don't have to remember what you said or remember what scenario you're in, because you're the same person throughout, and you're going to have consistent messages and whatnot. And I just think it makes for a fun environment if you're mates with your clients and you can chat to them about shit external to exercise in their rest breaks, for example. Like I used to, another thing for like sort of junior EPs, like I used to be like, talk about literally exercise and only exercise in their half-hour sessions. And like in their rest breaks, I'd be like, oh, so the glute med's doing this and the la 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 la, and then we externally rotate 15 degrees and then we'll get this. And like I sounded smart, but firstly, they had no clue what I was talking about. Secondly, they probably don't care as much as we care. And like that's shit you can talk to other EPs about. But in terms of with a client, like they want to, some of them just want to come in, they trust you, they know you know what you're doing, give them a little bit of education. They don't need as in depth as we do, but then chat about other shit, you know, like get to know them and like build rapport. Like I really think another reason why I probably struggled with retention initially is because I was like, exercise only. And now it's like my clients know almost all the background details of my life as I do of theirs. Such a different world. So much happier. It's
powerful advice. I used to be the same.
It's
like
hard. It's
rest break. It's like da-da-da. Like we get excited and our brain is just like exercise, anatomy, physiology. We're fresh out of uni and we've got all this knowledge cruising around. If I was a client on the receiving end, I would think fuck, that's info overload. Like I've just come in and Svet's just talking exercise prescription, sets, reps, anatomy, physiology, and it would be hard for me to soak it in.
But it's also to build that, again, just reiterating the same point, like to build that rapport and just to make people to help people trust you. You know, you want to build a connection first with them. Like that saying of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you have to care about them first, and then the information or the degree that you have is like a secondary thing. Yeah. That's why PTs have so many clients and EPs struggle, because we have all the clinical knowledge but none of the social soft skills that are like way more important. I think that's what prac is for, to learn soft skills. Like you've just spent 3.5 years learning technical side of things. Now learn how to talk to someone. So that your client, when you finish and you're an AEP, your client feels like you're chatting with them and you're not sitting there as like a sterile EP talking at them. Absolutely. If you're talking at them, game over. Because no one wants to be, like if your coach, if my football coach was just yelling at me the whole time, every time I went to training or before a match, I'd be like, man, this is not, A, this isn't fun. B, I'm not improving. C, this is just you don't want to be there. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to sidetrack us.
Let's go.
We're talking about our own goals and our own training. I want to know about what you're doing.
Oh, man, so much. So much to chat about.
Pause. Pause for effect.
I'm just having fun moving. I'm learning. I'm new to the world of powerlifting. And I'm learning all things proper powerlifting. Shout out to my coach, Arief Hunter, who's been helping me a lot on my powerlifting journey. So I've done.
I just want to pause you there. I think it's really important that you gave credit where credit's due. A lot of times we sort of go, oh, well, this is the thing that like I did. Right. And it's like, this is my coach. Like we have coaches, we have mentors, we have people where we get our sources from. We don't make all this shit up ourselves in the corner. But I just think it's really cool because like I have like 2 or 3 coaches at the moment. And like always we'll plug them and be like, these are the people I'm learning from. And they may not be ex-phys or doing what you're doing, but they are experts in their field and we can take and draw from that.
It's huge, right?
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that is I really like that. Couldn't agree with you more. I think there's too many EPs that put on this like Superman shield and they're like, I am the EP now, so therefore I need to know everything and fake it till you make it. And like, I don't need a coach. I am the coach, da-da-da. Yeah. But I think they're just shooting themselves in the foot and doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah. Anyway, back to your powerlifting with your coach.
Powerlifting rookie. I've done 1 competition, which was
really?
fun. Yeah.
What were your totals?
Oh, I'm gonna like struggle to so I squatted. I should know these off by heart.
You should know these.
This is how much of a rookie I am. For me, my coach told me for this first one, obviously do as hard as that was good. I was going to go as hard as possible regardless, but he taught me that your first comp is all about having fun, enjoying the experience, and just successfully completing every single lift.
Where did you do it?
The competition was at Brisbane Northside Barbell, BNB. It was just after, it was meant to be like mid-COVID, and then it was like cancelled, obviously, deferred, and then there was all these COVID
So super fresh, super recently.
Oh, yeah. It was like, did you say when or where? Sorry.
Well, I said where, but like it was recent, right?
Yeah, it was in Brizzy and it's super recent. It was like, I think maybe 6 weeks ago. Michael, what do you reckon? 6 weeks?
Yeah, probably
around 6 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
ZAR Media and Click Media were there documenting everything. So we're working on like
cool.
bringing everything to our community as well. So brand new to powerlifting. Before that, I did a lot of bro shit in the gym and a lot of like lifting that was self-taught and was... just like years and years of me in the gym, just exploring and just learning things myself.
But that's important too. Yeah. I think some people, like, I posted about this yesterday. There are some people who are like, stick to the program. That is the holy grail. But I think if you are a coach, you need to be trying shit and you need to be experimenting and you need to know the nuances and the variations and just give some random shit a crack. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, then that was 3 minutes of your life that you realize that, hey, I don't need to do that with a client or whatever it is. Like, I think it's important to experiment and explore with movement in our bodies.
Couldn't agree more.
Always.
Yeah, especially for us as EPs. Like, why not? Why not give it a crack? Like, why not add, I don't know, bicep curls into your program. Like it's not forbidden, bro. You can still do it. So anyway, early on, I did a lot of that, and then it was a very good learning experience. Once I started working with Arief to retrain and look at things that I was doing for no particular reason that were affecting my efficiency or my ability to progress in loads and lift more weight and get stronger.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying increasing my strength and getting better with my big 3 lifts, but also learning about the accessories and the injury prevention that comes along with it. And the big learning for me in the last 3 months has been how important rest and recovery is. I'm guilty of always like jamming more into my day, more into my week, more into my month.
Same.
Yeah. So in addition to that, my goals right now are to continue to get lean and continue to get strong. So
is that so that you can compete in a lower weight class?
I'd love to compete in a lower weight class so I don't have to go up against the big dogs because it is weight classes.
But if you're tall as well, then you're screwed.
Yeah. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
In addition to my strength training that I'm doing, I'm playing football for St. George. Soccer, the real football. And then I'm doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the moment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Lots.
Yeah.
You're doing lots too.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, I love it. I'm trying to incorporate a bit more yoga and Pilates into my week.
On top of the other 5 activities you already do. Yeah.
and then
I understand why recovery is your issue.
My coach hates me, by the way. He's like, man, can we just power lift? I'm like, no, bro, I want to play football as well, and I want to do all this. And then like I try and fit in a bit of cycling. And then a bit of like run. I saw you doing sprints,
and you train fucking twice a day.
Yeah, but yeah, I just love that about. I mean, that's important to me to be able to like have fun with it, optimally perform, and just do random shit. So I'm gonna go play tennis tonight at 8 o'clock. Just because a mate of mine was like, yo, we haven't played tennis in a while. And like the US Open just started. So I've been watching all the tennis. I'm like, let's go. I'll smoke you tonight, bro. But tell me about your training. What are you doing? You do lots as well.
I do lots. At the moment, I lift weights maybe 3 times a week. I do 1 calisthenics body weight session with, again, a coach, Jackson Lennon from Movement 4, and he has been like one of the biggest helpers for me getting my muscle ups recently.
Yeah, I saw.
So
good job.
Thank you. That's been like a 9-10 month process from when I started calisthenics to now. Like last week I did 4 muscle ups in a row and I was fucking stoked. So that's
pretty damn good.
That's kind of like that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
The weight stuff is, I mean, like obviously just general strength and sort of maintenance of that, and I guess the goal is continue to build a little bit of lean muscle mass, but I'm not necessarily eating in it calorie surplus to be able to do that. It's just more sort of like become more efficient and skillful at what I've got and what I am doing. On top of that, I do rock climbing.
Yeah, you're still rock climbing?
Yeah, it's been like 2 years, I think, almost. I had some time off with COVID because there was nowhere to climb, but I actually really liked it. I thought it was like just for like a specific crowd of people, and I was like, I'm not one of them.
This rock climbing cult that exists
and I was
everywhere.
like, nah, and now I'm like fully in it, and I'm like, this is cool. But it just like, I think when you lift weights for so many years, the monotony or the sameness of it is like can get a little bit like, you know, mentally exhausting if you're just doing the same shit all the time. So I sort of realized that I've gone through blocks of like 9 months to a year of different styles of training.
Yeah.
And I'm actually like midway through this audio book called Range. You should read it if you haven't.
Okay. No,
I think you'd really like it. It's basically talking about how being a generalist in like a specialized world can be super important and benefit you more in the long term. And I've sort of unknowingly done that, I guess. Like, yes, musculoskeletal rehab is my specialty, but that's a massive category. And so, like, I started out doing, I guess, sort of powerlifting style training. And then I did Olympic lifting style training. Okay. And then I did bodybuilding style training, and then the calisthenics and the rock climbing. And I've just taken up sprint as well.
I saw.
Yeah, I brought
that's
some
your new thing. Yeah, I saw
Friday.
that.
I was so stoked. I haven't worn them yet. Yeah. So that's my new thing. I guess, you know, as us in the industry, like, we've got to put our money where our mouth is. We have to walk the walk. It's not good enough to be able to talk the talk. And I think, you know, you don't have to be an elite athlete, but if you are not doing and putting in the hours in your body, in movement, then, I don't know, I guess I see that as a bit of like a fraud if you're talking and preaching all of these things, but you don't have something that other people would want to aspire to, or you haven't been working or grinding in terms of your own training. So I guess I like to be diverse and learn from heaps of different coaches in areas that I just haven't yet.
Yeah. I like that. I'm the same.
Yeah. Well, you have all those areas.
Yeah. A lot of my mates can't understand it. They're like, what's wrong with you? Like, why don't you just have one thing that's like your thing? And
but it's like business, right? Like, you're an EP, you're a business owner, you're a mentor, you're a client,
plumber,
cleaner. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
I think people, like, in our scenario, do like the variety of life, and then I guess that probably transfers into training as well.
Powerful for an EP to be like that dedicated to movement and
like,
training,
that's the thing, like,
patterns or biomechanics or what, everything.
But it's movement for us. It's not, and like human performance, it's not like going hard in one thing and that is your sole goal. And like, respect to the people who do that. And obviously we work with people like that. But I think it is so beneficial. And I've got so much out of like calisthenics that I bring into my world now and train my people. And same with sprinting. I can now, you know, coach people a little bit better in how to improve their running mechanics and having a look at that. And one of the sprint coaches is an EP as well, so that's amazing to have him be like, oh, your hip internal rotation looks pretty shit. You're like, how did you know?
So good.
Yeah, but just being around people who can continually better you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think for the EPs listening, it's nice when it's organic and when it's genuine. Like, we're not going out of our way to PD sprint mechanics or just like assess the patterns, but it like happens intrinsically. And as we get into it, I know that when I'm on the mat practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the movement that my coach gets me to do, I'm like, whoa, why is this so hard? And I'm like, okay, I'll work on this, and whoa, okay, this is helping that system. And that made my QL feel really good. Damn, okay, all right, I can incorporate this in this way in an exercise therapy program or whatever. The list goes on with my football training or my cycling or my running. Or then when a triathlete comes in, I understand.
You get it.
What they're talking about when they're like, oh shit, this feels messed up after I've been in the saddle for, I don't know, 6 hours prepping for my Ironman. I'm like, yeah, if I didn't cycle or if I've never done it, it's a bit hard for me to understand.
It does make us relatable to our clients if we have dabbled in a lot of different things as well. If we can, draw from that, and like, I now have clients who come to me who are rock climbers and they're like, oh, I can't like mantle on this one piece. And if you hadn't done rock climbing, you'd probably be like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not essential, but I think that, like, the broader your circle and the more movements that you know and understand, the more you realize they're all just nuances and variations of each other, and we can all take something from every area. And we're talking about certain dogmatic exercise philosophies.
Yeah.
And I love a lot of the different styles, but I think as soon as you go, this is the only way forward, you can't do anything else, this is how it has to be done, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot, and it's not a sustainable model. Like, you're trying to sell your 3-letter cert to people. You're not actually helping.
I think it's a disservice for our industry. it frustrates me a bit, and I get upset when I hear other coaches doing it, and I see it. It would be like a football coach just having one formation and teaching that formation. Like, say they're in a 4-4-2, and they're like, all right, for the rest of your career, for the rest of your football lives, you have to play a 4-4-2 or you don't play football. It's not how it works. You have different tactics, you have different strategies.
And the people who try new shit are the people who break the barriers and become the elite or the next thing, because sort of talking before, like from tennis, like Nick Kyrgios, he is like the man at like bringing out new random moves that no one's willing to try, and like sort of like between the legs shit, and like all this stuff that everyone else would just be like, oh, that's a too hard basket. But like he's been able to break the mold and be like, these are the rules. You're still playing within the rules, but you've modified and tried things to be able to break the mold of like A, B, C. Yes. It's important. The tweener, like the serve.
Yeah,
and like so he wins
I love points. It. Like imagine being on the receiving side of that. Say you're playing him and he just aces you with a bullshit tweener. That would be like you'd be demoralized. You'd be like, game over, that's it. I'm quitting. Perfect transition into the work that you're doing with one of your elite athletes. I think this has been an organic transition, who's somewhat linked to Nick Kyrgios. Yeah. By the way, another thing I like about Nick Kyrgios is he's himself, and he's not
but
walking on eggshells.
But he was young when he started, and like I don't know him personally, but like I think he's grown up in the spotlight.
Yes.
And like it's a product of, you see child celebrities and whatever, and like that must be freaking hard. Someone watching your every move, and every time you say something out of turn, it's like forever captured on TV.
Yeah.
But I think from what I've seen, like he's definitely like grown up sort of through that, and now he's doing great things.
He is.
In terms of like helping with like, I think he was doing some stuff for like Black Lives Matter, and he raised a fuckload of money and for the bushfires.
Yep.
And then
he started that trend with the ATP.
Yeah,
he was like one of the first players
absolutely.
That was like, yo, let's like
every ace or something is $1,000 and match it, and he like asked all tennis players to support him.
Yes.
So,
and then
I mean, like using his voice for good.
He got the ball rolling, and then I think ATP and tournament organizers jumped on as well after that. They were like, okay, like this is getting pretty big now, and then they started contributing. Yeah, that's true. That was all him.
That's like about all I know about tennis. You could go on for weeks.
The US Open starts today.
Okay.
There's some action happening.
Okay.
I could talk about Nick all day. Tell me about the link and your elite athlete that you're working with, a champion in bodybuilding.
Yeah, so current three-time world champion, Alicia Gowans. So Nick Kyrgios is effectively like her brother-in-law. Yep. So she approached me after her first world champion win, because I was actually training one of her clients. So she's a bodybuilding comp prep coach.
Okay.
And I was training one of her clients through some neck pain and shoulder issues. And I would always like CC in emails with the client and all of their coaches or allied health, and be like, hey, this is what we're doing. Or like, I'm just going to modify some of the training that they're doing in terms of like, this is aggravating the shoulder, so we've replaced this. Is this okay? Because I'm not a comp prep coach. Bodybuilding isn't my area of expertise, but I know how to sort of work around and work with that. And I guess, I've learned a fair bit about that, because this is going on, I think, the third year that we've worked together to prep her for world stage. And it's been postponed for COVID. But, I guess with her, like she had bilateral pars fractures L4, L5. Under a squat bar. She like literally collapsed before she started working with me, and disc bulge, and I believe herniation, which led to sciatica, and a lot of neural issues down her leg, and that was sort of the first injury. And she's got Achilles, bicep, and hamstring tendinopathy, I think, as well as there's a list. I have it like literally on my phone, but there's like 5 pathological things that we're working with and working around at the moment. But I think that's the thing, like you have to be versatile. I often just literally, she's like, oh, I've got this, or I can't do this, or like someone dropped a 20 kilo weight on my foot last week. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we MacGyver a lot of exercises, and I'll just like make shit up on the fly. And I think if you're so dogmatic, or if you have this tunnel vision of like you have to do the exercise like this, then there's no room to move. And I think just being able to draw on those experiences, and was fortunate enough to travel overseas with her to help prep her for her comp and see her in those like final days when she was leading up to being on stage, and then having to like stretch and PNF her out and give her a prehab and Pilates every day, like while she was like so calorie deprived. That was a massively important and cool experience that I don't think I thought as a 25-year-old EP I would get to experience, being overseas with a professional, elite, world-class athlete. So very fortunate.
Super powerful.
Yeah.
Like the compromise between, okay, we've got to do the injury recovery, but it's bodybuilding and aesthetics are everything, and we've got to get you looking a certain way and being stage ready.
Yeah, absolutely. But they have to be so mobile as well, like because all their like quarter turns and the rotation through the torso, and like QL gets jacked all the time, so we're just like constantly releasing that out, because some of their positions it's like, well, you have to do this.
Yeah. So
we work around it, and that's the difference between working with an athlete versus working with someone who just wants to move better for life.
If we go on to one of my last discussion points that I've sort of prepared with you, if we chat to our community, and if we draw on like big time lessons or wins that your clients get and your community gets from Swift Movement Academy, what do you think like separates a client or a patient or an athlete of yours that's getting results and is winning and is succeeding in their exercise program, whatever, be it like the optimizing their performance versus the guy or girl that's not as successful at making the gains or like thriving with their program? What do you think? Should we reflect on like what's working and what's not?
I think it starts with headspace, and I think they have to be in a position, or not necessarily in a position, but they have to be willing and ready and able to be like, all right, I'm going to make some changes. Like, it feels like pulling teeth if you're like dragging someone through the process. Like, I've had a client before, and like it's so frustrating, and like just to have a client who you believe in them more than they believe in themselves, and you're constantly like that's okay if that's that way for a while and you're working them through that. But if they're just like, nah, I can't do it, I don't believe it, like, and it's just an uphill battle. So like I used to, again, be so exercise driven. I was like, I can write you a program, your job to do it. Like, I'm not the woo-woo motivation cheerleader. I'm here because I have a skill set, and these are my qualifications, and I know the best exercises. And I was like, I'm not going to be that like cheerleader type, like the PT who just like woo all the time.
Yeah.
But I've realized that is way more important now than I previously thought it was.
The mindset and the headspace of the client?
And working them through that
helping
as well.
Them build.
Yeah,
okay,
like
I'm with you.
I think I say this all the time. It frustrates me to say this because I think it's a throwaway statement now, but we are effectively like life coaches. And I hate, you know what I mean when I say I hate that term, because it's like anyone can be a fucking life coach. And like I'm 27, like what do I know? I haven't had like a whole lot of life experience, but like I'll have a 45-year-old client turn around to me and be like, you've literally changed my life and you've helped me go from this to that. And those things are powerful and makes me realize that like I literally like, I invest in my clients hard, and like one of my clients wanted to like tap out on training. She's like, no, I'm done. Don't want to do it anymore. And I was literally like crying on the phone to her being like, this is like, you can't do this. And I was so invested because like I'm committing just as much as they are. And it's so hard to commit to someone or to work through this whole process with people where I have phone calls with them at 8 p.m. at night, like feels like you're pulling them off the side of the cliff being like, no, get your ass into the gym. Like, this isn't over. Like, I know the pain sucks. I know that you're going through a lot. Like, it is hard, but you've got to stick with me and trust me, and we will get through this. And it's like, I'm sure you've done a heap of shit like out of hours that's not paid, but it like gets you the result for the client, and like that passion and that drive and I guess that care factor is a big thing when you're working with clients. And I guess I just didn't really fully comprehend the importance of that when I first started. I was kind of like, oh no, I've got the best program, just like I'll be able to get you there, you just got to do
program.
What I say.
It's all about the program.
Yeah, because that's what uni I feel like teaches us,
right?
It's like you
that's
need
how
to
we're
know
conditioned.
the exact program, and you spend like one course doing communication skills, which is like, I don't feel like I got much out of that versus being in front of real clients and seeing them like be like, nope, not coming back next week. And you're like, oh, well, I fucked up.
Or like even worse, like you say, like, I'm done with exercise for good. This is my chance. This was my my journey. I've set out to hit the gym with you, to strength and condition and whatever. I feel like I'm quitting on gym. I'm quitting on exercise. And I feel you, like you being on the phone on the other end crying, going, no, like, don't give up, keep going. It's because we believe in exercise being medicine and its potency and how powerful it is.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think in terms of like lessons or like biggest client results reasons?
Client results. I'm still hung up on that transformation that you had. That's so powerful. I reckon like one of those transformation wins when our patient and our client like hits that, like that success story. I think as EPs, that's like fuel for our fire for like the next, like X amount of weeks to keep going. And I think it's powerful when it energizes us, and it's so rewarding.
How long does that transformation take though? Like from them, like obviously there's milestones and things like that, but when you feel like you've gotten someone from like the start of their journey to like crushing it, how long is that?
I think that's a really good question. It's hard for me to answer. I'll give you an example. There was a member of our community that I met last week, and for him, the biggest win was walking into the gym and like stepping like at the reception desk and chatting with me. And he's like, "This is huge." And I could relate. I'm like, whoa, it is big. And why? Because he had 2 heart attacks. He had stents. He went through a divorce. His mental health was down in the dumps, and he was struggling with his mental health. And for months and months before that, he wasn't ready to like start the journey, and he wasn't ready to even think about exercise or having a health coach, et cetera, et cetera. Lived ages ago, so he had to pull up, drive, park, walk into the gym, and then like meet a random dude that's now going to be his coach and is going to help him with his journey. But that was powerful, and we ended up chatting for a long time and planning. So that was a rare occurrence where it happened then and there, and I appreciate that. Like that first step is going to be the first one in out of many. But to answer your question, I think it takes a while. It's not quick. It's not like it's like weeks and months and sometimes years.
And that's sort of like what I was getting at. Like, obviously we all have small wins with our clients along the way, but like I got a couple of my clients to send me through like just a written testimonial for some marketing stuff. And just reading them, I was like, whoa, like I've literally like changed these people's lives, and you don't realize like I had to up my prices recently because I'm at full capacity and I now have a staff member on, and it's just not viable for me to be at the same rate anymore. And so I had to do that. And one of my clients was like, no, but I have to still work with you, but I can't. And she was like literally like almost about to cry. And I was like, no, we will make something work. Like, it's okay. Like, I'm still here for you. I'm not leaving you. And just like she was like, but you don't understand. She's like, I think you do, but like she was like 20 kilos underweight, and like almost skin and bone, and had like debilitating back pain. And now she's like fucking crushing it. She's got like no eating disorder issues anymore, and she's lifting like crazy heavy, and she's just like loving life. Good. And she's come from like, I guess, anorexia athletica to now like being like, oh, it's okay if I miss a day of training.
Yeah.
And so like obviously some people are the inverse where it's like they don't train enough, but for her, like that whole journey of us working together for the last like 3 years, it's been since, you know, that process takes a long time, but like, I don't know, I guess as cliche as it sounds, we're in the business of changing lives.
Yep.
We're not in the business of like getting rid of shoulder pain for 2 weeks.
That's true. So powerful. I think with our community and what I'm seeing in the last probably 12 to 24 months is like the power of habits. So when my clients and members of our community make those small changes, have you had the chance to read Atomic Habits by James Clear?
No, but I've got it. It's down. It's in my like to read
What's
list.
the one you reckon?
Range.
I'm going to write it down before I forget.
I think it's like the only one that you'd find under Range. Yeah.
Cool. James Clear talks about like the power of like
I've listened to an
audio.
a podcast on him with Steffi Cohen.
Okay.
So Hybrid Unlimited.
She's a beast.
Yeah. But actually the behind the scenes, like if you want to know sort of like what goes on behind that, Ian Kaplan is like the COO of Hybrid, and he is like, I call him like the brains behind the workings of Hybrid. He's a chiro and a strength coach, but he talks about pain science, and there's a few podcasts on him as well. Yeah. And he has some fucking awesome insights into the fact that like how multifaceted pain is, and how, you know, like being so like dogmatic with things is not helpful, and really goes into the depths of the data and the research. But yeah, really cool info.
We could chat all day. Literally, we're gonna have to do this again very soon. I'd love to finish up with the future of EP.
Yes.
What's your thoughts? Where are we going as an industry? What are you predicting? We could come back in like 5 years and you've like predicted the future.
Yeah. Well, I really hope that more EPs step into gym settings. Like proper, like commercial gym-based settings. Like gone are the days of almost like clinics. Like I think that a physio should be in here working in the gym with you guys and have that ability to transition them from like, oh, I get pain when I squat, to like, okay, let's actually get you under a barbell. I think some places are doing that, and I think Allied Health is becoming more integrated, but it can still be a bit sterile and separated, and I really hope there's more private practice EP, because there's obviously space for it and a demographic for it, because PTs that have heaps of work, and I think we need to help facilitate that area a little bit better. It feels a bit like a lot of EPs are like, oh, well, I guess my options are DVA or Medicare.
Yeah.
And it's like I almost like don't work with those clientele, not because I don't wish to, but just because I am investing in people who are investing back in me, and I think it's important that we get out in front of the public or the private sector and help those people, because they want help, and they just don't know we exist.
Yes.
And we need to put ourselves like in front of them and be like, hey, this is what we do, this is who we are. So I hope that, I guess, people know who we are, and that we're a lot more synonymous with exercise rehab, as opposed to in a clinic in a 3x3 meter room,
tiny smelly room with curtains and shitty TheraBands
or something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is like where maybe we started a long time ago, but it doesn't mean that that's where we are now or where we're going.
Yeah. What do you think?
I reckon what you've said is killer. I want to see more EPs helping everyday people, like the general pop, because we're trained of like, oh, you got your healthy pop, and then you've got your clinical pop and your cardiac and your musk. I want to see EPs being themselves and doing the hard work to help the community, help everybody. Don't be selective with just like, oh, I've got to like sit in my consult room and wait for the EPC or DVA to rock up and then I'm going to help that patient. Like, no, do the legwork, work on yourself, get comfortable with the work. I think it's discipline, it's time and energy to become a good EP. Like, work on yourself, dedicate yourself to learning, but let the end product be EPs helping everybody. So that one day,
instead of boxing yourself off, I think that's really important. I think a lot of EPs are like, oh, well, my options are, you know, that or oncology or in the hospital. And it's like, it's almost as if like private practice doesn't really like enter their mind sometimes. And they're like, oh, but that's like, what do you do once they're out of pain? Like, then they're not your client anymore. And it's like, well, you have an exercise science degree and an exercise physiology degree. Like, this is still our scope. Like, our scope is exercise. Like, your scope is not like acute ICU, kind of like when they're out of ICU, they move on to someone else. It's like it starts at exercise rehab and moves into the performance. I'd like to see that transition be a little bit more fluid, because I think all health professionals have so much more to give and to offer than sometimes what we end up doing with 3 sessions. You know, like how much can you give someone in 3 sessions versus a year of training them? And I think we have all that to offer, but we shoot ourselves in the foot by only giving them a couple of sessions or a taste test of what we can really give them.
Powerful. I'd love to see in the future members of our community referring themselves for EP. You know, when community members wake up and they're like, oh, I've got to stiff back. Oh, shit, I've got to see a physio today. And then they go find a physio. Whereas I'd love to see, instead of other health professionals having to refer to EP, a member of the community waking up and going, it's time to like find a good EP. I want to get into proper exercise, see a health professional that's dedicated their life to this, and someone with...
And just understanding that you don't need a referral to see us either. Like, I think there's just still so much unknown or confusion, and people are like, oh, but I have to do through a GP, or I only get 5 sessions. It's like, that's not how it has to work. Like, we are here for you when you are ready for us.
It's powerful. Zenia, thank you so much. Where can our community find you and learn more about what you do and all of the stuff?
So Swift Movement Academy is business. So swiftmovementacademy.com.au. It's all the same name: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I think they're the main places. Swift Movement Academy.
Sweet. YouTube as well?
Yeah.
You've got a YouTube channel. We're going to make sure that we've got all the links down in the bio below. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I've been good.
Thoroughly enjoy this. We'll make sure we catch up again.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Zen.
Sweet.